And I'm back because I'm going live with someone else. Not one, but two podcasts drop today that I was a guest on. Super excited to share both of those with you. You will find those links in my bio. And today, right now, we are going live with Megan Siemens. She's a life coach. She is a human design expert, all around absolute gem of a human being. Hey, Susan, welcome back. I'm doing another live with another podcast that dropped today. And there's my girl, Megan. We're going to get her to come on in. Here we Welcome, welcome, DJ Luis. It has been a minute, my friend. So good to see you here. We are, hello.
Hi, yay.
Good to see you.
So good to see you. I'm so excited to be here.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you too, but somebody just said they can't hear me. Susan, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? I know, I was just thinking, like, I can't help but think of those commercials. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Well, someone else just waved at me after I said hello to them. So I think we're okay, especially if you can hear me. Okay, good. Good. Hi.
Hi. Happy 2025.
Yes. Yes. Everyone, meet Megan. Megan, tell the people who you are and what magic do you do in the world?
Hi, friends. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I'm Megan. I'm a life coach, energy coach, human design guide, and I'm just obsessed with helping people come back to themselves, back to their full authentic expression of who they are, using tools like human design and like coaching. Yeah, just finding your magic.
Yes. Yes, I love that. So as I put a title on this, I called it Double the Magic.
I just thought when I said finding your magic, I saw double the magic, and I was like, ooh.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Megan also has a podcast. Tell us the name of your podcast.
Yeah, podcast is called Clarity Corner.
Nice. And an episode dropped today with the two of us.
Very special episode. I was re-listening to it and I was like, oh, this is such a good conversation.
Amazing. I know my memory, not as it used to be. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to say it's bad because I'm not going to speak any sort of thing over it. There's a lot up there. There's a lot up there, right? And so I know we definitely spoke on, well, of course, rewiring the brain and probably some self-sabotage, some symptoms of self-sabotage. I would love, especially since you just were re-listening to it, let's highlight like one piece for people so they're like, oh yes, that is I definitely like that is the piece I want to listen to.
Only one piece?
Well, we'll start with one. We'll start with one.
No, we talked about so much goodness around understanding your brain, and one of my favorite parts that we really dialed into was that idea of like you don't always have to get to the root of something and how to understand your brain for forward motion versus spiraling. That was one of my favorite parts.
Exactly. Because we can spend so much time overcomplicating and overthinking, and and our brain will like ultimately do what we tell it to do. Like you're that powerful, everyone. Like I know it feels like that's not true sometimes. It is. It's a shift in the perspective that you're taking on it. It's reframing the current thought that, well, if I was so powerful, why do I keep doing XYZ? Well, because you're so powerful is why you keep doing XYZ, right? Like this is why it's a habit now. There's like a whole bunch of reasons. And so instead of getting stuck in the, why am I like this? I know that's a meme. Like, why am I like this? Instead of getting stuck in that, we start asking the better questions about what do I get to do different? What would it look like if? How could I make a micro shift in order to start experiencing something different, thinking something different, finding proof of something different?
Yeah, we had so many we had like branches off of that entire conversation. Mindi, I also was just looking at your human design chart before we got on live today, and I am obsessed with the fact that I was looking at your sun sign and your earth sign, which in human design is essentially like these two kind of key parts to your purpose. And both of yours are in your head center and are all about like helping people break through confusion, pushing like your mind past the edges of where normal people go. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's 100% Mindy's gift. 100%.
That's amazing. As I know basics of my human design, right? And I learn more and more, that I did not know that. That I did not know about
I
me.
saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I mean our sun and earth sign are essentially just like kind of our core gifts that we have. And I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, just listen to the entire episode with Mindy and you'll hear that gift shine through the entire time. It's magic.
I get really passionate about it too. I, we're so powerful,
Yeah.
right? I keep saying that, and we are. And I don't want people to go down the road of like, well, you create your reality. So if your reality shit, it's because you're creating shit. That's no and
Mm,
yes, no and yes, and right. Like there are circumstances. And so when I say we're so powerful, the one thing that we can control is us.
mm,
And wherever we are, we can control our thoughts around shifting to a greater thought, a thought that serves us a little bit better. That's not to say that, for some people the world doesn't feel on fire. And like we're not discounting any of those things. I love to talk about and practice what do we have control over, and ultimately the only thing we have control over is us.
mm,
That's it.
mm,
We can't control what other people think, what they say. Honestly, so you and I are both self-employed. We can't control whether other people pay us for our services. We can influence it. We
mm,
can create containers for more likely success.
mm,
And ultimately, what we can control is showing up as women who provide massive value, speak to our ideal clients, right? Like those types of things, model something that they want in their lives. That's what we can control.
yeah. Yeah. I love that you touched on that part of like, oh, it doesn't have to be like we create our reality and it's just like black and white and like that's how it is. Because that quote really, I mean, I know personally it messed with me in the beginning of my personal development journey because I was like, oh, am I making these things happen to me? And then we
Yeah,
get stuck in that spiral again.
exactly. And then we're looking for the root.
Yes.
Why am I like this? Then we're back to why am I like this, as
Yeah.
opposed to I was just on another live
Mm.
and talking about um, Abraham Hicks, and every subject is two subjects. So there's the lack. You're either focused on the lack or you're focused on the abundance, right? You're focused on the scarcity, and so many times we think that we're focused on the abundance. We think that we're focused in the direction, but ultimately what we really are is we're focused on the lack. We're focused on what we
Mm.
don't have, how we don't want to feel, what all of that. And we've just trained our brain to do that so we
Yeah.
can train it to do something different.
Yeah. Totally. And you talked about something in the podcast that I feel like relates to this. You talked about ask better questions, and you gave some really great examples of that in the podcast episode. And it reminded me of that because I feel like it's so easy to get stuck in that, like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And it's like, well, ask a different question,
Yeah.
and you can immediately change the direction you're going in.
And we find in our work,
Hmm.
I know you'll agree with this, so many times it's perspective and reframing
Oh, yeah.
of something. And so for everyone that's just tuned in and anyone watching the replay, Megan is my guest today. She's got a podcast called The Clarity Corner, and a new episode dropped today with moi and Megan. And so we definitely want you to tune in And you will find the link to that in my bio. You'll and in my stories as well. And there will also be something on the feed where you can comment and get the link to that too. So it's a very low barrier for you to get the link, my friends, to go listen to this podcast. So I just want to remind everyone of that. So the reframe and the perspective. This is, do you have is there a human design bent on that? That as far as the ease in the reframe and the perspective, or not necessarily?
Gosh, I mean, human design is all about finding your way back to ease. That's how I love to use it. It's okay, there's these endless possibilities, there's infinite pathways you can take. All of them might be right. Now let's just find the most easeful way to get there. I mean, there's so many places we could look for that point of ease in the reframe. We can look at, is your energy operating out of ease or is it operating out of pressure? I love using the signature themes and the not self themes as really simple tools to help you see if you're on track or off track. Are you familiar with those?
You're calling me out right now because I'm pretty sure that my not self is frustration.
Yes.
And my signature is satisfaction.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like, shit. I know I can really get frustrated. Like I'm like, oh, not self. Oh, not self. So yes. And I have to highlight for everyone, and you won't even know this, but how much I love that you said easeful. Because we're not talking about easy, but when I teach the 7 keys, and I can't remember if we talked about the 7 keys on your podcast or not, but when I teach the 7 keys, one of the keys is joy and ease. This is my version of excellence. When I am showing up and I can find joy and I can find ease, not easy, but I can find a more easeful way of being in it, I can shift my perspective, then I know, right? Then I know I'm in alignment. I'm being authentic. Like this is exactly the place that I want to be at. So I love that it's a tool to coming back to yourself and what way to get there has more ease in it, right? Because you can't get it wrong. I also love that you said that. Like I say all the time, you can't get this wrong. Like you're gonna learn and grow from each place that you go. And how can we operate more in satisfaction and not frustration?
Yeah. I love that. I always say, like, creating ease in your life isn't getting rid of hard. Like, you're gonna have hard seasons, period. We are all human. We're all gonna face hard seasons, but we don't have to have excess pressure on top of the hard season. It doesn't have to be extra stress. If we are cultivating ease before something happens, it creates more stability, I find, in those hard seasons.
Like, say less. Give us all the, oh my gosh. Tell us what that looks like. Give us a practical example of that. Because I know everyone was just like, wait a minute, what?
Well, I think, like, if I zoom this out, I feel like our society has been very focused on, like, prescriptive. I have the thing wrong, let me find the fix. But in the conversation of, our personal development, our spiritual development, if we're just constantly looking for the band-aid, it's like we have all this excess that's building up in between. And instead, it's what if we could be proactive instead of being prescriptive all the time? And so how can I take care of myself, nourish myself when things are actually going really good, which can be really hard. I'll be the first one to say that I my old pattern was I thrive in chaos. I would say those words.
I know a lot of people
thrive in chaos. Yeah. I think it's a really common story. And so to be settled in just like a season of joy and ease, like I was constantly like waiting for the other shoe to drop. What's going to happen? Am I prepared for it? Oh my gosh, what? I was like looking for the chaos. And so, practical example, what if you stopped looking for the chaos? What could that look like? where is your satisfaction? And this is where we can start to bring some of your energy into the conversation. Where's your satisfaction for you, for example, with that signature theme? For me as a projector, my signature theme, success. So where is that success showing up in my life? And how can I get myself back in alignment instead of I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop? Everything's going to go chaotic.
This is reminding me of, like, I just shared a thought recently that if you're going to doubt yourself, doubt your limits.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what if the other shoe's not actually going to drop? Like, what if, all of those type thoughts, because we definitely train our brain to look for that.
Yeah.
And so you just saying, I thrive in chaos, we think a thought over and over again, it becomes an I am statement, right? Or a belief. And then it creates emotions and body sensations. And then we create habits to prove it to ourselves. And we do it over and over and over again. We're so powerful. So having that identity, I thrive in chaos, right? Like that, your Raz proved it to you all the time, and because your brain deleted, distorted, and generalizes, this is what all of our brains do, it deleted, distorted, and generalized any proof that was bullshit, that was like a limiting belief, keeping you from true success, keeping you from more ease, because it was your known. It was your known zone. We're so practiced in being us that then, exactly. Susan says we create the evidence of the thing. Well, for sure, right? We're so powerful. We're always winning the game we're playing. This is something that happens to us all the time. And so when we're armed with that knowledge, okay, what game do I want to play? What game do I want to win instead? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think for me, something that was really supportive and something that is still really supportive in reframing is also like, what does it feel like in my body? What does it feel like in my body to be waiting for that chaos? And then what does it feel like in my body to be in that space of ease and starting to get to know, because our body's always giving us cues, right? Our stomach, we get butterflies when we're nervous, right? We can feel the tightening in our gut at times. This is our body giving us cues. And so what does my body feel like? What cues is it giving me when I'm in these different states? And that kind of helps settle my energetic system as well.
I love tapping into, because some mindset people can get a bad rap, and maybe justly so, because we don't talk somatic at all, and that I disagree, because exactly, a dysregulated nervous system, like, you can feel it in your body, and we know. I just saw something that was so brilliant on the body keeps the score, but then saying, no, stop saying that there was like a better way of looking at it. Ooh. That one of the modalities that I use talks about when you feel it in your body, this is an aspect, and it's telling you something. And so what can you learn from what this aspect is telling you? And it just a Google search for people. You talked about butterflies in your stomach. Well, you can get like between your shoulder blades, like, we carry stress here, and low back pain is trauma, and like so many things that our body right gives us information about. And so when we combine the two and use that, combine that energy with then the power of our brains, like, now we're kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah, it's so true. And this is what I love about how you present your mindset work. And I feel like we talked about this probably towards the end of the podcast episode, is that you have all these amazing modalities that you bring in. And so you do have this like really special blend, which, can I share something else about your human design chart? Because
sure,
I can't help it. It just feels so connected to your human design chart, because as that manifesting generator, where that sacral is activated, that gut feeling, that body wisdom is so powerful. But then we were talking about your core gifts earlier, which are both in the headspace. And so it's like you have this beautiful like mind body connection that you just pull through in your work, where it's like, yes, the mindset has so much power, And one of my mentors always says, let's not be the disconnected head, because we have a body, neck down. And you bring that through, that like full flow of like, it's all powerful.
This is, thank you. Like, you know, it's always, how do I want to say this? That reaffirmation
Mm,
of like, you are doing your thing. Like you are, this is who you are, and what you're meant
yeah.
for. Like, I know that. And then just hearing that these other pieces, you know, like are supporting me in it is very like, it's just cool, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I love human design. I always joke and call it astrology on steroids. um I love it, and it's my one of my favorite tools in that way. Like I identify with it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like there's less space in it too, right? Like there's not just one type of Manny-gen, right? Like we're not
Right.
all gonna look exactly the same, and I appreciate that about it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really cool tool to have in your toolkit. And it's like, I love having these conversations on the Clarity Corner, the podcast, because I feel like I get to see the gifts in action. Like I can see the energetic gifts in action, like you breathing life into it. And like everything you say, I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. It's like, so it just like illuminates all of the gifts. And yeah, your entire episode, I feel like I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a gift, that's a gift, that's a gift. Like it's just such a
That's
treat.
so fun. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and it was everyone who's just tuning in. Megan has a podcast, Clarity Corner. An episode just dropped today with the two of us. You're going to absolutely want to stop everything that you're doing as soon as this is over and go listen to it, because it was an awesome episode where we cover a lot of things, not going to lie, because we had a really good time chatting. However, we definitely talked self-sabotage, symptoms of self-sabotage, rewiring your brain. I know there will be massively actionable pieces that you can take away from it immediately and start shifting that perspective, doing that reframe. I wanted to share something that I was thinking about when we talked about that perspective shift. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of rewiring your brain as well. Just shifting your perspective on even a word swap, on words that we
Mm,
that we use for things, on meaning that we give to something. This is a reframe, is shifting the meaning on it, right? And when we think perspective out, I'm inviting you, everyone listening, to visualize seeing something head on, but then like taking a step over to the side and looking at it from the side, like literally shifting your perspective on how you're looking at something to see if you can see something else in it. I tell
yeah.
this story all the time because I think it's so powerful. I had a client several years ago, a life coaching client, and she had kids that had orthodontia, right? And so that's not cheap. And every time she wrote the checks, I'm like, writing this check, like it didn't feel good in her body. It felt like
Yeah.
loss. It felt right. There was no gains in writing this that she could see, because her perspective on it was, this is a bill I have to pay. And I'm not saying that it wasn't a bill she has to pay. We're just saying, okay, and right, let's
Mm,
add an and on there. So we talked all around the gains and the benefits from writing this check to the orthodontist every month for at least two of her kids. And yeah, it was a big, hefty check. And once I got her down the road of just being able to not stop at the it's a bill to pay, but then like look at it from another angle of, and what is this going to do for your kids? Like,
mm,
what is this going to do for their health, just their health, because oral health is huge. What is this going to do for their self-confidence? What is this going to do for their path in life as you set them up for success by taking care of this thing from them? And it shifted completely, right? Her energy
yeah.
in who she was being and what now she got to do. Like this was she got to write this check like as a gift to her kids, right? She was literally paying into their future. Well, that changed everything. That perspective
Mm,
shift, that reframe changed everything for her.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's huge.
It's so good. We also, another thing we talked about on the podcast was New Year's resolutions. And connected, but I mean, we could probably go another 30 minutes on just New Year's resolutions, couldn't we? But what you were just saying was making me think of um, word of the year, which you and I were talking about like recently, and just some messages. And to me, word of the year connected to this perspective concept is this theme that we can come back to that can give us this different lens of perspective, this overarching kind of
Yeah, North
compass
Star.
that we can,
I agree.
yeah, every
Hmm.
time come back to. Like we can create that perspective shift with one single word.
Yes. We can keep it that simple because as humans, we like to overcomplicate things,
Mm.
right? And it absolutely can be a North Star for us. Anyone that wants to share, if they do a word of the year, if you want to drop it in the comments, that would be amazing. I'm here with Megan. She has a podcast, The Clarity Corner, as well as being a life coach, energy coach, and human design expert guide. She calls herself a human design guide. I would say expert. Um, I'm gonna shine on her as well, and we're having an amazing conversation about a podcast episode that just dropped. Along with we're just like giving you all kinds of extras here that we're talking about today. We're talking about word of the year. I not only did here I overcomplicated, but on purpose. I didn't overthink this, but I went from just a word of the year, which is trust. My word of this year is trust. That which is very simple, actually. But I also have a phrase of the year, like
Ooh.
a mantra. It's a mantra, and it's authentic, aligned, and alchemized.
Ooh, love
So,
that.
so I will know all like right like am I trusting, am I being authentic, like well okay is this trust that I'm allowed to be authentically me, like all parts of me, right, aligned,
Yeah.
like am I trusting myself that this path, that I know the path, right? So it's still everything, all roads are pointing to that North Star, like you
Yeah.
said, and that is just, it's just a really helpful tool for
Mm-hmm.
yourself
Yeah.
because there's so much going on coming in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Did
Yeah.
you share
Yeah.
your word with us?
Yeah. My word is breathe.
Tell us.
Yeah,
Tell us what,
just like
like,
that.
yeah.
So this word, I always say, let your word of the year choose you, don't
Mm-hmm.
choose it. I'm assuming just since we're so aligned that you probably agree,
Agreed.
based on everything we talked about too on the podcast on New Year's resolutions. So the word breathe came to me, and I was doing a somatic dance practice one day in December, and the word came through, and I was like, ah, no, 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 too simple. I don't know if anyone can relate to that. Like you get the answer and you're like, oh, no, absolutely. It's got to be more complex than that. So fought it for a while. That's usually my sign that I'm on track. I have this kind of rebellious nature where if I'm fighting something, I'm like, oh, okay, we're on to something here. But it took me a minute to get there. So breathe landed in, thought it for a little bit, and then so little backstory from me. I have this I don't know what you even call it. I don't want to identify with it, but this thing where my left lung has collapsed
Okay.
spontaneously
Okay.
um, a couple of times. And so I guess people would consider it a weak lung.
Okay.
And I have these kind of flare ups every now and then. And I had one over kind of our holiday break. And I was like, okay, breathe. I hear you. And to me, it's this foundational reminder of like
Mm.
sometimes it's like the simple things to come back to, and there's something asking for my attention here. And so I don't know what it's going to unfold, but that's my story with my word of the year.
And it can be that simple,
Yeah.
right? Like that basic, like breathe, which
Yeah.
can mean a million things and take you back to that, oh, caring for myself and, breathe. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get through, like all the things. That was what I was seeing light up around you when you
Yes.
were saying that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I agree. Your word finds you.
Yeah.
If you're listening, right? If if you're tuned in, I as
Mm.
a manager, uh, I can be like, oh, that thing, and then go after something that, like, honestly, is shiny object syndrome sometimes.
Yeah,
And since
totally.
I know that about myself, I then put it out to the universe and my guys, and everybody's really seeing the authentic me. I'm one of those people that, okay, if this is for me, I need three signs. I need three. Like, I need
Mm-hmm.
to know. And trust just kept coming and coming and
Yeah,
coming. And other people were saying it to me, and I was seeing it visually and I was hearing it. And just like, I couldn't run away from it. I'm like, okay, I hear you. Like, it's trust. Because I had
yeah,
several that I was like, oh, I wonder, how does this one feel? How does that one feel? So I ask for signs for
yeah,
that, so that I don't, like you said, you get rebellious and you want to, like, oh no, I'm not listening. And me, I'm like, I can be very quick to be like, oh yeah, this feels so right, because it can feel
mhm.
so right in a sec. Like, it's like eating, one cookie and then 10. The 10 was not a good choice.
I love that thought.
you know so
Yeah,
instead of eating 10 cookies, or making a choice too quickly like that, then I know, oh, let's
yeah,
get three signs, like, and then we'll do this thing.
yeah, yeah, totally. I love that. I feel like it gives you breath. It gives you breath in between, a pause, a moment to be like, how is this actually landing? Like, what's in the driver's
Yeah.
seat here? Is this my ego that's like, pick me, choose me? Or is this actually the thing that's landing in here to guide me? Yeah.
I think I love that you just talked about ego as well. I am seeing more. It's like when you say something in front of your phone, and
Mm.
then, so I Googled something on my laptop, and all of
Hmm.
a sudden my phone is showing me the same shit. I'm like, get out of here, you
Yeah.
creep. Like, come on. I have been seeing so much more. So I'm feeling like this is a year to dive into ego. For me
Mm.
personally, like, to really
Mm.
get interested in what's in the driver's seat here, especially since I have staked my claim in more authenticity,
Yeah.
right? And so what does that actually get to look like, and what am I gonna, and when I'm caring about it, am I caring about it for the right reasons, or is it ego in the driver's
Mm.
seat? So I love that you brought that up, for
Yeah.
sure.
That what a juicy exploration. I feel like I need to like tell future us right now. We need to come back end of year and like close loop, probably like blow our own minds and be like, oh, look at everything I thought that was gonna happen in January. And then December comes and we're like, well, that went nothing like I
Yeah.
envisioned.
Right. Right. Exactly. Welcome. If you're just joining us, this is Megan. She's a human design expert, life coach, energy coach, all things amazing human being. We met in a mastermind, and then met in real life, which so often does not happen when you're online friends with someone. So that was so lucky. And then we had a coffee chat and said, oh, we need to be friends.
That's how it went.
And she has a podcast called The Clarity Corner, and it dropped today with an episode of me and her, and it was amazing, the two of us, and we had so much fun going down so many rabbit holes. Hey, if anybody has a question for Megan, uh, uh, I know she would be happy to answer it, or I would love to hear anyone's thoughts so far on that perspective shift, because I feel like perspective shift in the reframe is really, like, we landed there for quite a while because there were so many different pieces around that. Um, I can't see my comments right now, so Instagram really loves me sometimes about that, and they just get stuck. Like, my thing just gets stuck; it
Mm.
doesn't move. But if anyone, I would love to hear, chime in if you are having, if you're stuck in a reframe. Something that just came to me about that when I was thinking about that.
Mm.
Also, when we said just a word swap, right? Just a word swap can reframe it for you. And I do this for myself, and I coach clients Oh, Susan's saying I resonate with everything we're saying. Well, thank you, Susan. We're so glad you're here. And this is meeting you right where you're at. I know Megan loves to hear that just like I do. Like that is always our, right? Like this is going to meet you right where you're at. Like you're going to hear exactly what you need to hear.
Yeah.
The going from struggle, the word struggle, and I used to, when I was way more in my ego, have a whole lot bigger like issue with struggle. I still get triggered if someone's in my DMs like trying to sell me something and the first thing they say to me is, "What's your biggest struggle?" I'm like, none of your damn business. Get out of here. You didn't even buy me a drink. What do you mean
I
what's my
feel
biggest
that.
struggle? Get out of here.
Yes. Why are you even assuming I have a struggle? That's my first thought.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what? So, struggle, going from struggle, which is even when we say the word, talk about energetics. When I say struggle, I get choked. Like, struggle. Like, say it a couple times and you can feel it in your throat. So, shifting from struggle, which feels like quicksand, feels like not being able to get out of. Hello, Marcy Love. To challenge. Like, and it could be a massive fucking challenge. Like, we're not saying, I'm asking you to shift the energetics of it for yourself because some of us crazy fools pay to be in challenges. We pay, we sign up and give our money to run in challenges, to do, manifestation challenges, business challenges. Like, people call something a challenge and we pay for it. So clearly, we're more apt to thrive in a challenge than in a struggle. So there's just one perspective shift right there. Go from struggle to challenge. And then when you're really like feeling yourself, you can go from challenge to opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is that right there for people, energetics, right?
Yeah.
And mindset shifting and reframing, like all the pieces are in there. Marcy says she loves that. Like just those word swaps right there, you're going to start creating new neuro pathways. And what wires together, fires together, you'll start seeing more opportunities to be like, well, I'm a girl who can handle a challenge. Like,
Yeah.
like let's see.
Yeah. I love that. I'm sure you talk about this with your clients too, but it just reminds me of like the stair step of like, so often we're like, okay, I'm struggling. I want to go to peaceful. And it's like, well, that's a big jump. Like nothing in your body is going to want to go, I'm struggling. I'm just going to be peaceful. It's like when someone says, can you just calm down? And then you're like, what? Like,
Yeah.
no, I can't just calm down. Like we don't want to make these massive jumps from one feeling all the way to a polar opposite. And so it's like, how can I just stair step it? Like you said, what can I swap it for?
And what you just said, whether you know it or not, every identity is a role with a goal.
Mm.
And so when you are flaming pissed, you don't actually want to be calm.
Yeah.
You want to be flaming pissed because every identity is a role with a goal. Now, ultimately, do you want to get to calm? Sure. Let's just get to functioning, right? Let's just get back to a place of functioning. And we can get so caught up in that role with a goal where we think, well, that's not what it's supposed, right? Like that identity, there's not a gain in being angry. There is.
Yeah.
That's why you're there. Let's explore it. Let's learn from it. Let's see what the gains are so that you can understand why you're in this angry identity. So that you can then, well, my Marcy, who's on here, I'm going to quote her. She talks about it like a pirate ship. If you're at this end of the ship, right, with angry, like look at, you're just doing this all the time. You want to get to the center of the ship. So when it rocks, right, you're choosing. You're back at functioning. And that is something that so many of us miss, and that being stuck in those identities manifest into our body, and they become things that are talking to us, aspects, things that are talking to us in our body, like you said, butterflies in the stomach, for me, I used to get a ton of, I had so much neck and shoulder stuff going on because I would carry stress there and I wasn't managing it and I wasn't moving the energy properly and doing all the things. And I was, wow, was I in a lot of frustration as opposed to satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So huge when you're talking about something like that. Yes, I love that you said that. Stair stepping. Oh, pause and be curious, Susan says. Ask your anger questions and then be silent for the answers. Yeah, absolutely. Like, what is
Yes.
it? What's the benefit? What's the
Yes.
payoff of being the human who's angry right now? Because there's a benefit or a payoff, or you wouldn't be standing in it. Like, I'm not saying it's going to make sense, like that it's going to be a logical benefit or payoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, there is a benefit or payoff in it, or you wouldn't be in it because every identity is a role with a goal. And
Yeah.
we don't honor that enough, mostly because we don't know.
Yeah. It can be very confronting to face that too. Like, oh, my anger is benefiting me. That can be quite jarring to yourself as well at the same time, where you're like, but is it? You were talking about that battle you hear from like your clients and stuff. Is it? Are you? Yes, there is a benefit. One exercise I love to give to clients for something like this is just letting the anger talk. I think Susan's
Yeah,
like touching on
she
this, like ask
is.
your
Yeah,
anger
so
questions, but like if my anger could talk, what would it say?
mm-hmm.
And if you can let yourself be in that space, you're probably going to eventually find the benefit. At first, you might just be like, if my anger could talk, it would say it's angry about Megan and Mindy making me write this journal prompt.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, you're making me think of a tool that I use with clients that it's a really basic and it's called end of words. And we just say what's good about it and what's bad about it. Like, okay, so we identify the emotion, which friends, everyone listening, everyone on the replay, the clearer and more concise you can identify your emotions, oh my goodness. Like you are so much farther ahead in healing and clarity, in obviously emotional intelligence and that level of emotional intelligence, like clearly understanding your emotions. When you can articulate them clearly, you can again get back to functioning. You can understand the role that it's playing so with so much more ease. Marcy says, I love end of words. Mindy has done it with me. It works. It is what's good about it, what's bad about it. And you say it until you have no more words. You empty out. Because here's the truth too, right? Anger stays because we are ignoring it, because we don't let it out, or sadness, or even like any of those feelings like that. If we get it out like that, we can lower the level, we can dissipate it, like make a copy of a copy of a copy, right? Eventually, it becomes much more fuzzy and then non-existent for us in that way. Like, of course, we're going to tap into anger. It's healthy. It serves us. It's staying in the anger that was where the issue arrives. And so when we can do, well, what's good about this anger? What's bad about this anger? Like Marcy's saying, Mindy, help me move my anger to passion. Yeah, because those are like close to each other. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm yelling because I'm getting excited. Sorry. Those like asking yourself that question, like, what's good about this? What's good about anger? What's good about my anger about this? And then what's bad about it, until you have nothing left to say, and then you're just like, huh, okay. Like it's this wild relief. And again, did we get to the root? Maybe, maybe not. Right. And you are back into a place of functioning and being able to move forward. And that's ultimately like, do we want to be thriving? Yes. Is that something that is like going to be an actual thing for all of us all the time? No, we want neutral. We want functioning too for those times. I mean, we want to be real.
Yeah.
Everything is not rainbows and unicorns or a highlight reel. And so, how do we get to show up in the in-between?
Yeah, I love that. I love that you've touched on like the state of like neutral too, and how how beneficial neutral can be. Because I find so often, like a lot of people I work with are like, I just want to be like excited. I just want to be like overjoyed. But there's actually so much benefit in the like baseline neutral, which means it's not good or bad. It's
Right.
just here. And there's something so magic in that space.
Yes, 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 yes. So many times. So the modalities that I'm talking about, the specific, say that 3 times fast, the specific ones is a process called rapid rewire. And there's like 6 or 7 different pieces inside of there. And when I have it done on me, Marcy is a rapid rewire practitioner as well. So often I go for neutral. I just want to feel neutral about this. I don't need to feel overjoyed, forgiveness, like any, I want to feel neutral. Get me to that neutral place. So then I feel like a conscious being of choice again. Like I don't feel controlled by the anger or the whatever. Like I want to get back in the driver's seat. I want to be back in the middle of the pirate ship.
I love that. You're emotional authority in human design too, aren't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, which is all about making your best decisions when you're not in the emotional really high highs or emotional really low lows. It's finding that neutral, and that's the space that your decisions thrive in the most
oh my
clarity.
gosh, I need to look that up and confirm that that I am. I think so. I think I'm
Yeah,
emotional.
I have your yeah, you are.
Okay.
I have your chart behind my behind my phone.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And again, thank you for the reaffirmation that when I ask for 3 signs about something, because I don't want to make the decision when I'm way up here like hyped. I just got off of
Such a
this
good one.
webinar and I'm like, yes, take all my money. I want to take a moment. I want to like
That's
I
such
want
a
to be in that
yeah,
neutral space
yeah.
to make the decision. Yeah, yeah,
That's
amazing.
such a good example of it. Like, so I feel like so many emotional authority people can relate to that, where it's like, yes, take everything, I'm in. And then the next morning you wake up and you're like, why did I do that?
No buyer's remorse, right? Yeah, yeah. Now, I will say that there is also like, yes, I know this is a yes, is a yes, is
Yeah,
a yes, is going to be a yes tomorrow,
yes,
right? Like,
yes, yes,
and
yes.
I can get carried away. So I have put in those, whatever I want to call them, protections for myself to say, okay, let's check in, right? Let's get 3 signs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That feels like it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of just like getting to know yourself, like coming back to the core of it all. And it is a practice. And the more you practice it, not just when times are bad or when things are really hard, the more you get to know these little practices that support you. So you're not like scrambling of like, oh my gosh, I'm in this really high high. What do I do? How do I figure this out? Oh my gosh, what's happening? It's like, oh, let me just use these tools that I know.
Exactly, exactly. And I love, so we've come full circle, and something that you said before that I wanted, oh, you were saying that like we also get to learn how to be when things are really good, right? That's the time
Mm.
that we aren't necessarily looking into it. And so we get to create systems, honestly, of success for ourselves so that when things are really good, we're not doing that foreboding joy. We're not like, oh, when's the other shoe gonna drop, or looking for
Mm-hmm.
chaos or anything like that. And we're also not forgetting to like we get to like keep setting ourselves up for this. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you for joining us. I had someone DM me recently about they got this new job and they're really excited about it, but it's far away. It's an hour away, and like, and then started talking about all the negatives of it. And
Mm.
I said, okay, well, here's what I'm hearing. You're excited about it, and they listed like some XYZ's way they were excited about it, and they listed some negatives. Said, if it was me, here's what I'd get curious about. How do I get to ensure that they weren't going to get enough sleep because of these new
Mm.
things coming in? And hey, Belinda. And I said, well, if it was me, here's what I'd be getting curious about. How can I have a nighttime routine that
Mm.
sets me up so that I get the sleep I need. And how can I bookend that with the morning routine that starts the day on? If we've got things that we can't control, like how far we're driving for our job or a second job, that those types of things, what can we control? How can we set ourselves up? And I said, if it was me, like I'd be looking, how does caffeine affect me after I have so many cups? Like all these pieces that we wouldn't necessarily be even looking at, right? We would just be like, well, I need to get to bed. Okay, well, how do you make that more easeful? How do you make
Yeah.
that more easeful?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. 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 Or are you more attached to the story of it being hard?
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Hello. Belinda says hello, Megan.
Hi,
Yay.
Belinda.
Hey, Lindsay. Hey,
Yay.
Terry. Yes. So any I know we just had 4 lovely women join us, ladies. A podcast dropped today, Megan's podcast, Clarity Corner, the episode with us on it. You can find the link in my bio. Please tune in. We dropped a whole bunch of extra bonus juicy stuff here today. We did talk about some of the things that we talked about on the podcast, but of course we did our thing and had even more fun talking about other stuff. Megan, any final, you don't have to leave, but you need to get out kind of thoughts? Uh, you can't stay here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Uh, any any final parting words of wisdom?
I mean, I would say one, if you loved this gathering, or if you're on replay, like do go listen to the podcast because it's so full of like practical, tangible tips, questions, tools that you can put into place. I mean, I know we went on some glorious rabbit holes today in our live, and it's all like so connected to what we were chatting about there. So go there for like a little bit of a deeper dive. And I would say just remember those foundational pieces. Like remember that it can be as simple as one word. It can be as simple as a breath. That can just really bring you back to you and bring you back to the answer that maybe you've been fighting for or struggling for, like we were talking about earlier. It can be as simple as one step.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, my friend, for joining me. This was an absolute pleasure. I will definitely have to do it again.
Yeah. Such a joy. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yes. Everyone tune in to Megan's podcast. Again, you'll find the link in my bio, and we will see you next time.
Yeah. Bye, friends.
Bye.